So I'm going to read this because this is a lot of fun. Raven Magwood is an author, motivational speaker, and filmmaker. By 11, she was a national gymnastics champion. By 13, she had published her second book. By 15, she was a state title holder in track and field, competing nationally. By 16, she had graduated from high school #1 in her class with a 5.1 GPA. By 19, she had graduated from Clemson University's Honors College, summa cum laude. That's Latin for really high grades, right? Her mother is beaming, by the way. Do you want me to read it again? Should I just go through it a second time? Switching Lanes, a feature film that she's written, is inspired by one of her books, is currently, I hope this is right, currently winning awards on the film festival circuit, or it did win well. Either any of that is right. Her latest publication, The 7 Practices of Exceptional Student Athletes, has become an official guide for student athletes to achieve success. Raven was honored as one of Clemson University's Roaring 10, which prestigiously recognizes the top 10 graduates over the past 10 years. What did you do today is what my question is. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, it's awesome. I don't want to oversell it, but she's awesome, and she's got so much energy. And I brought her here today because I hope that just a little bit of it rubs off on me. Ladies and gentlemen, please applaud Raven Magwood.
Well, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. And thank you, Phil, for inviting me here today. It is a privilege as well as an honor to be able to speak with you. Before we get started, if you have a business card with you, I would like for you to take it out. And I need you to write 3 letters on the business card before we get started. Q, I, and S. Q as in Queen, I, and S. Very quickly. And when you're done, just place the card in front of you. Q, I, and S. As soon as you do that, we'll get back to that a little bit later. But Q, I, and S is all I need for right now. 10 years ago, when I was 12, or about 11 years ago now, I'm 23, I was 12 years old, and I got my first taste of being an entrepreneur. I had given my first speech. I had written my book called On to Victory, The Winning Edge, and in giving this speech, I remember it just being an awesome experience. And when it was over, I remember the event planner coming up to me and handing me a check for $200. And at 12 years old, I thought, oh man, I'm rich. You know, I made it. I made $200 just giving a 30-minute speech. And at that point in time, I said, wow, is this what entrepreneurship is about? Is this what achieving your goals is about? I love this. This is my passion. But it wasn't until maybe a few speeches later when I realized that this is what I was put here to do. I was still 12 years old. And it was about my 4th or 5th speech. I was speaking at a church. And after I had finished giving my speech, a man came up to me afterwards. He was about 40 years old, and he had tears in his eyes. And at 12 years old, I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. Here I am, a kid, and this 40-year-old man has tears in his eyes, and he began to explain to me his life story, and he began to explain to me that he had tried to commit suicide 3 times in his life. And he looked at me and he said, and actually, I was planning on trying again today. But after hearing you speak and seeing how a 12-year-old can be so passionate about life, I promise you right here, right now, I will never try to take my life again. And it was at that moment that I knew this is what I want to do. I want to be able to speak and write and motivate people, inspire people to achieve their dreams and become the best versions of themselves as possible. And that's what I'm really here to talk with you about today. It's my 7 practices of exceptional business people. And with these 7 practices, I want you to be able to fulfill your passions and accomplish all of your dreams. The first practice is called visualize the end result. Visualize the end result. And what this means is to really set goals and own it. You have to know where you're going if you're going to get there. You don't just hop in your car and start driving and not know where your destination is. If you say, I'm going to go to Walmart, you know the route in order to get you there. You know your end result is Walmart. And that's how life works. In order to get somewhere, you have to know where you're going. You have to visualize your life. You have to ask yourself questions. What kind of life do you want to live? What do you want to do? What's your dream job? How much money do you want to make? I speak to kids and adults alike all across the country, and when I ask them this question, I get answers like, I want to be CEO of my own company. I want to be a business owner. I want to grow up and have kids and have them never want for anything. It's those type of things that drive you. In my own life, people ask me, well, Raven, what has been the key to your success? And I have to say that one of the keys to success is that there's always something that I'm working towards. There's always a goal that I have set. There's always something that I'm trying to achieve. I'm always visualizing where I want to be, whether it's a day from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, and that keeps me going every single day. If you don't believe in the power of visualization, just listen to this. In 1980, they did a study on the Olympics. Russian scientists did studies to see about the different athletes and how many medals they won. So they divided the athletes into 4 groups. The first group did 100% physical training, meaning 100% of the time they were working out, lifting weights, practicing their sport. The second group did 75% physical training and 25% mental training, meaning they visualize and they put themselves in certain situations that their mind had to be strong in order to get through it. The third group did 50% physical training and 50% mental training, and the last group did only 25% physical training and 75% mental training. At the end of the Olympics, they tallied up the number of medals that each group won. And by the end, they realized that group number 4 won the most gold medals. This was the group that only did 25% physical training and 75% mental training, followed in order by group 3, group 2, and group 1. Your mind is powerful. These are the top athletes in the world. And the ones that walked home with the most medals are the ones that utilize their minds in their training. What is your mind stopping you from doing? You can only do something if your mind tells you to. So what kinds of things are you speaking to yourself? Are you being positive with yourself every day, or are you being negative? Are you visualizing positive things in your life? Or are you visualizing negative things in your life? Do you know what you want to come? Because really, I think Einstein said that your life is a preview of upcoming attractions. Your imagination is a preview of upcoming attractions. So what are you imagining that your life is going to be like? But then that brings you to the second practice, which is bring the house down. Because you can visualize and you can set goals. But what I've found is that a lot of people underestimate the amount of work that it really takes to be successful. I once spoke to a football team, and I asked one of the players what he wanted to do. And he said, I want to go to the NFL. That is my number one dream. I want to go to the NFL. I want to play in the National Football League. And, is it possible to go to the NFL? Yes, it's possible. My dad played for the New York Giants. It's possible. Now, is it probable? No. So I began to ask him a series of questions. I said, okay, well, what position do you play? He said, linebacker. I said, okay, well, do you start? He said, no. I said, well, why don't you start? The coach doesn't really like me, and he has his favorites, and I said, okay, well, how hard do you work? Do you do extra workouts? He said, no, I just do what my coach tells me to do. I don't really do anything extra. I said, okay, well, how are your grades? Well, I kind of just get by. I know I need to do better with my grades. And I said, okay, well, you don't start. I'm hearing a bunch of excuses, and you're not getting your grades, and you're telling me that one day you want to go to the NFL. I said, come back again later and try again. It doesn't work like that. When you have dreams and when you have goals and you have things that you have set for yourself, you have to be willing to give forth success effort. When I was 12 years old, yes, I was a national gymnastics champion. I was a freshman in high school. But this is what my schedule looked like. I woke up every morning at 6:30 a.m. I couldn't drive, obviously, couldn't drive until my senior year of high school. So my mom took me to school, got there about 7:30, went to school from 8:30 to 3:30 every single day, went to a gymnastics facility that was an hour away, practiced for 4 hours every single day from 4:30 to 8:30, came back home, didn't make it through the carpool until probably after 10 o'clock every single night. I still had to eat, take a shower, do my homework. I went to bed 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning every single night, and then woke up at 6 o'clock the next morning and began it all again. That's what I mean by being dedicated to something that I really loved. Now, were there times that it got hard? Yes. Were there times I wanted to give up? Yes. Were there times I was tired? Yes. But I had set those goals, and I realized that I had to bring the house down. I had to work hard if I wanted to achieve a certain amount of success. I knew that one day I wanted to be valedictorian, so I had to make sure that I got my grades, and I did what I had to do. I knew that I wanted to be that national gymnastics champion, competing against gymnasts from all over the country. So I had to work 4 hours every single day. I had to sometimes go in on the weekends, but those were goals I had set, and I knew that I had to work hard in order to achieve it. And because I was willing to do what other people were not willing to do, years later, I was able to achieve those goals that I had set for myself. Fast forward to when I was 19, and in my senior year at Clemson. I was in my senior year. That semester, I took 22 hours at the Honors College. I was also, at that time, getting ready to film my first movie that was based on my book. So I was traveling back and forth to Atlanta, having production meetings. I also had just published my book, The 7 Practices of Exceptional Student Athletes. I had a goal of that becoming a bestseller. So I was also traveling across the country, giving speeches based on the practices in those books. And what I realized was that even though it was a lot of hard work, I looked up, and all of my goals I was able to accomplish because of the fact that I never missed a class. Not once did I ever miss a class at Clemson, not once. I never missed a meeting going back and forth from Atlanta. I never missed a speech. I knew that it took that kind of success effort in order to achieve my goals. Because guess what? We're all given 24-hour days, all of us. You, me, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, no matter who you are or what person you look up to, we are all given 24 hours. But what are you doing with your 24 hours every single day? Are you wasting it away? Are you really doing every single thing you can in order to make sure your dreams come true? And if you're not, why are you selling yourself short? It's funny when I go into schools and I speak, and I'll listen to the conversations of kids, and they say, well, I didn't have time to write that paper last night. I just couldn't do it. I didn't have time. But then, if you look through their Instagram feed, picture after picture, like after like. I said, okay, all these likes and all these posts, you probably spend about 2 hours on Instagram, but you couldn't spend 45 minutes writing your paper. That's not just for kids. I go into corporations, I speak to CEOs, and I'll break things down, and I'll ask them, what does their schedule look like? Because I can look at your schedule and tell you what you're doing in life. And I was speaking to a person, and they told me they just didn't have time to do their business plan. They had an idea for a business. They really loved the idea of their business, but they couldn't get their idea down on paper. He just told me, I just can't do this business plan. I don't have time to do it. And I said, okay, what's your favorite TV show? Game of Thrones. Are you caught up on that? I sure am. I said, okay. So you're caught up on that TV show. What's another show you like? You caught up on that? Yes. So you're caught up on all your favorite TV shows, but you don't have time to sit down and do your business plan. What are you spending your 24 hours doing? And is it bringing you that much closer to achieving your goals? That's what you have to ask yourself each and every day. Number 3, recognize your true strength. Your mind is a powerful tool. I said in the beginning, what are you visualizing? Are you visualizing positive things? Are you visualizing negative things? Because in your life, you'll realize that it's all about choices, and you have to make the choice every day to be positive and wake up and go after your dreams and goals. So I want you to repeat after me. I am a 10. I walk like a 10. I talk like a 10. I get what I want when I want it, because I always do what I ought to do when I ought to do it. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. I'm smart. I'm strong. I am a 10. Now, it may seem silly now, but when you repeat things to yourself over and over and over again, you do start to believe what you're saying is true, which is why I say there's so many pathological liars in the world. You have people who literally lie to themselves over and over and over again until they actually start to believe what they're saying is true. So if you can flip this around into something positive and wake up every day and say, I am a 10, I walk like a 10, I talk like a 10, you will start to believe what you're saying is true. Because as I said, life is all about choices. You can wake up and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, I am a 10, or maybe I'm just a 4 or 5. You have a choice to say, today I'm going to have a great day, no matter what obstacles come my way. I'm going to have a great day, or I'm going to let things bother me and let them take me out of my element. It's just like when you're driving, you have a choice. If someone cuts you off, you can just let them keep going, or you can do some other things. It's a choice. Life is all about choices, and I want you to make the choice starting today to wake up every morning and be positive and say, I am a 10. So I want you to repeat after me again, but this time like you really mean it. I am a 10. I walk like a 10. I talk like a 10. I get what I want when I want it, because I always do what I ought to do when I ought to do it. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. I'm smart. I'm strong. I am a 10. Number 4, take a timeout. And what this means is to prioritize. You want to always ask yourself, what is the most important thing for me to be doing right now? And then once you answer that question, do it. You also want to make sure when you're asking that question to yourself, what's the most important thing for me to do right now, that you're not confusing what's important with what's urgent. Sometimes things are not important, but they seem urgent. You want to break down, what do I really need to be doing right now that will bring me closer to my dreams and goals? And this doesn't always have to be career related. My to-do list every day looks a little something like this. It may say, okay, well, I need to email this person and do this phone conference, give this speech, have this meeting. I need to tell my mom I love her. You know, I need to get my brother something, send him a text. He's in Clemson, send my brother a text. You know, I need to do something for my fiance. There's something that I have for every person that's important to me in my life, on top of your career. It's not always about one thing in your life. We have to realize that life is about balance. And you want to be able to prioritize the important things in your life, because you're never going to find time to do anything. I promise you, you will never find time to do anything in life. You have to make time for the things that are important to you. I say all the time, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. Once again, if you really want to do something, you will find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. Prioritize what's important to you and then get to it. It sounds really simple, but people will ask me all the time, well, Raven, what do you do? How do you prioritize? How do you get everything done? You wear 1,000,001 hats. How do you do it? And I say, I make a list. As elementary as that may seem, I make a list for everything so that I know what I need to do. And then you get a feeling of satisfaction when you cross it off and you just move on to the next thing. You cross it off and move on to the next thing. My mom can tell you, I'll wake up in the morning and I have 102 things to do on my to-do list. But throughout the day, they all get crossed off because I know what I need to do. Set your priorities and get to it. Like I said, though, life is about balance. People will get a snapshot of my life and think, oh, Raven, well, you must not have fun. You just work all the time. In school, you probably just stayed in those books. Clemson wasn't fun for you. And that's not true. I'm a strong believer in balance. When I was at Clemson, I had a 4.0. I was in the honors college. I started off a pre-med student. So all of my classes were chemistry, biology, and math, all that great stuff. But I also went to parties. I had fun. I went on dates. But all my work got done. And I really stress this to kids too, because they think, well, if I want good grades, then I can't have friends. No, that's not true. Or if I want to get this place in my career, I can't have a family. That's not true. It's all about balance and being able to prioritize what's important to you. So yes, I may have went out, but it wasn't every night. I knew that I had to get my work done. Even now, me and my mom, we just bought a gymnastics facility. So that we've been doing a lot of work with getting this business up and running, and it's doing really great. But I know, okay, well, maybe I can't go to the movies tonight. I got work to do. We'll go on Friday. Be able to have that balance, prioritize, and understand what needs to be done right now. And then you can do the things you want to do later. Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. Number 5, cut your losses. Cut your losses. What this means is to remove yourself from negative people and situations. Not everybody wants to see you do well. Not everyone wants to see you succeed. I've found in life that a lot of people want to see you do better, but they don't want to see you do better than them. Have people around you who don't mind you succeeding, who don't mind you living up to your full potential. I love the analogy that compares people to the different parts of a tree. You have your leaves, you have your branches, you have your roots. Your leaves are unstable. One day they blow left, one day they blow right. One day these people are your best friend, the next day they hardly speak to you. Most people in life are like this. But then you have the branches on that tree. The branches will fool you because you think they're all strong and mighty. But as soon as a strong storm comes through, they leave you high and dry. Very few people in your life will be like the roots on that tree. There for you through the thick, the thin, the ups and the downs. And you have to be able to distinguish between your leaves, your branches, and your roots. Because a lot of times people get really messed up when they try to put lifetime expectations on people who should only be in their life for a season. Understand that some people come into your life for a reason, some for a season, and some for a lifetime. Be able to distinguish those people. Because you don't want negative energy around you when you're trying to reach a certain level of success. You don't want people trying to pull you down when you're trying to go up that ladder. So cut your losses. Now, some of you may look at me and say, okay, well, Raven, what if I just can't remove myself from a negative person or a situation? And some things in life you simply cannot change. You know, you can't change who your family is. You can't change how you grew up. You can't change certain things in your background. But this is what I say. If you cannot change something, change how you look at it. Life is all about perception. Is the glass half full? Is it half empty? Or is the glass just twice as large as it needs to be? Life is all about perspective. Look at everything in a positive way. Number 6, go back to square one. At some point in time, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have quote unquote failures. It's life. We're not perfect. Situations aren't perfect. One of my favorite quotes is by Michael Jordan, because when someone asked him about why he thought he was so successful, he didn't say, well, I'm just talented. I'm just a good basketball player. I'm just this or I'm just that. He said, in my career, I've missed over 9,000 shots. I've lost nearly 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. That is why I succeed. In your life, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have setbacks. You will have those failures, but do you learn from it? That's the biggest thing. Are you learning from the things that happen to you in life? Let situations in life make you better, not bitter. Learn from the things that happen to you and just keep moving forward in a positive direction. Take the lesson and move forward. Go back to square one. But when you're doing this and you're going back to square one, you have to maintain a positive attitude. Which brings me to number 7, never throw in the towel. Never give up. No matter what life may throw your way, you cannot give up. You cannot throw in the towel. You take a girl who was born to a teenage single mother in Mississippi, raped at 9 years old. told all of her life that she would not be successful. All she wanted to do was be a journalist, and people said that she just would not. They said, you're too fat, your hair's too thick, your eyes are too far apart, you don't look good on television. All she wanted to do was be a journalist. She wanted to report people's stories. Then she got her job as an anchor on the news and was demoted. People said, this just isn't for you. TV isn't for you. And she said, even though you keep telling me that, I have a dream in my head, I know I'm gonna accomplish it, and in a few years, you're gonna wish that you weren't talking about me as much. And now Oprah Winfrey is one of the richest women in the world, worth an estimated $4 billion, had the #1 rated talk show, and was told that she was not fit for television. You take a woman who was newly divorced, on welfare, had a small child, and the only job she could get was as a waitress in a restaurant, working double shifts. But even though she was a waitress, she said, you know what, I have an idea for a story and I'm gonna write it down. And this is where she utilized her 24 hours. She spent almost her whole day in this restaurant, but she did not let it stop her from getting her dream onto a paper. She would take scraps of paper and napkins from the restaurant and write while she was working. Eventually, she got a book together. She put it all in a Word document, and then she sent it off to different publishers. She sent it off to the first one, though, and they said no. She sent it to the second one. They said no. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th publisher. They all said no. 11, 12. They said, we don't like your story. It's not realistic. It's just not good. And we promise you that no one will ever care about that Harry Potter kid. And now J.K. Rowling is the richest author in the world, worth an estimated $1 billion just from the Harry Potter book series. You take a guy who all he wanted to do was play the sport of basketball. So in his 10th grade year, he decided to go out for the team. He was cut, told he wasn't good enough. He spent the whole next year practicing for hours every single day. Hours. Every single day. And in that year, he actually ended up growing 6 inches. He came back in his 11th grade year. He made that varsity basketball team. He went on to play for the University of North Carolina, went on to play for the Chicago Bulls, made the number 23 famous. Of course, I'm talking about Michael Jordan, is now considered to be the best player to ever play the sport of basketball. His Jordan brand for Nike brings in over $6 billion alone, just the Jordan brand for Nike. And Michael Jordan, just last year, was named to Forbes' list of newest billionaires. This is coming from a guy who was cut from his 10th grade basketball team, said he wasn't good enough. What goals do you have on the inside of you? What are you trying to accomplish? And are you going to let adversity keep you from achieving your goals? In my own life, I've had my own setbacks. I've had my own adversity. When I was younger, I was this national gymnastics champion. A lot of people didn't know I had a knee disease, caused me chronic pain every single day. I had calcium deposits in my knees. I had micro tears in my tendons. Practice was awful some days. Some days I couldn't practice at all. I would have to ice and sit on the sidelines as my teammates were practicing and going to competitions. I couldn't do anything. I ended up having 3 surgeries during that time that sidelined me from the sport that I loved. When I wanted to take a dive into motivational speaking and write my first book, I ended up walking away from the sport of gymnastics at the height of my career. I just got back from training with Bella Caroli at his camp in Houston, Texas. I had made the Junior Olympic national team, but I wanted to speak. I wanted to inspire people. And people would tell me, that's never going to work out. You're only one person in the world. You're too young. Who are you going to inspire? Your book won't get published. I would hear this negativity, but I kept moving forward despite what was going on around me. When I was 19 years old, I told you a little bit about my schedule. I told you I was taking 22 hours. It was really one of the best times in my life. We were doing well, Clemson was, as far as the football team was concerned. I had a lab partner by the name of Sammy Watkins. He was cool. He did some pretty good things. So me and Sammy, we're lab partners. Clemson's doing great. I have a 4.0. I'm taking these 22 hours. My movie's about to get made. My book's doing great. It's now a bestseller. I go to a doctor's appointment for a routine checkup. They tell me, I am 19 years old. They look at me and they say, Raven, we have found a lump in your right breast. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. I am 19 years old, and now all of a sudden, I don't know whether I'm going to see my 20th birthday. I go see a radiologist. I go see the breast cancer surgeon. All of this stuff going on. Movie, book, 22 hours. Back and forth. Clemson, hospital. Atlanta, Greenville, Clemson, hospital. Atlanta, Greenville. For months. Throughout the whole semester. Seeing the radiologist, seeing the breast cancer surgeon. As soon as school let out, I go in to have my surgery. If you're familiar with any type of tumors, I had a lumpectomy, which is the breast cancer surgery, and they removed the lump. What ended up being a miracle is they told me once they went in that it was benign and not malignant. And I am fine to this day. But what that experience taught me was that life is precious. You all are here in this room right now. You're alive. Which means that there is still things for you to do. There's a purpose on your life. You would not be sitting in this room listening to me if there were not things for you to do. That experience taught me that we cannot take life for granted. So when I wake up every morning, the first 2 words that I say are thank you, and I get started doing what I need to do. That's the mentality that I want you to have leaving here today. What are the things that you want to accomplish? What are the things that you want to do? And stop selling yourself short. Utilize your 24 hours every single day to make sure that your dreams come true. Life is precious. It is not guaranteed. Don't take it for granted. Use the skills that you have been given to go after your goals. Because I can guarantee you, if you can visualize the end result and set those goals, if you can bring the house down and work really hard, if you can recognize your true strength and understand that your mind is powerful, if you can cut your losses, go back to square one, use a timeout, if you can never give up, even when times get hard, I promise you that you can achieve your goals in business and in life. Now I want you to go back to your cards that you took out at the beginning of the presentation, and you wrote 3 letters down. You wrote Q, you wrote an I, and you wrote an S. If there's a question that you have for me that you would like for me to answer, or you would like an email, just circle the Q. I promise that you will get an email from me. So just circle the Q. I will email you and we can talk from there. Circle I. If you've enjoyed the presentation and you feel like someone could benefit from an introduction. I is for introduction, circle I. And circle S, if there's an organization or anything that needs a speaker and you would like to recommend me as a speaker, I will email each and every one of you who circles a letter, and we can go from there, Q, I, and S. I also have a weekly newsletter. It's called Wednesday Wisdom that I write. And it's been getting pretty good reviews, but what I do is just take something that I've learned over the week and I'll just write about it on Wednesday for the Wednesday Wisdom, those who are interested, if you did not circle a letter.
Thank you, by the way, for that. That was awesome. So here's the thing. I'm trying to figure out if you're a robot or not, is what I'm really trying to figure out. You're just a machine in getting stuff done. Is anything hard for you?
Is anything...
I'm going to let you hold the mic, by the way. Look at this. They know.
Is anything... I'm not perfect by any means. I will say that, of course, I feel like God has blessed me intellectually and with different things. But as I say all the time, if I didn't utilize those gifts, there would be no way that I would have been able to accomplish certain things. Like people say, oh, you're smart. Okay, I may be smart, but if I didn't study and pay attention in class and go to class, I would have not have gotten a 4.0. People say, oh, you're talented at this. Okay, yes, but if I didn't put in the work and really hone those skills, I would not. So, yes, I will say that I'm talented at certain things. I cannot sing at all, Someone, literally, I gave a speech and someone said, okay, well, we want someone to sing the national anthem. Raven, you want to do it? No, you do not want me to do that. So that is one thing I will tell you I cannot do, I will not do. If you hear me do it in the shower, that is, do not record me. But as far as just getting things done, I guess I'm just very, I write it down, I get to it. And if I do have trouble with something, I'm very big on asking for help. I am not too big to ask for help. I love asking for help because you can't do everything by yourself and you don't know how to do everything. I don't know how to do everything. So I like people who have more expertise in something than me to go up to them. Okay, well, how did you do that? What did you do in order to get there? What do you think I should do in this situation? And I think that's very big. If you can't do something or you're not as talented at something, don't be scared to ask for help.
Yeah, you did good. That's great. Thanks. I'm still not sure you're not a robot, but we're working towards it. So you told us some of the best advice your mother ever gave us. Tell us any good advice from your dad. What's the best advice your dad ever gave you?
The best advice my dad gave me. He's given me a lot of good advice as a daddy. I love my dad. So as a daddy, he's given me advice. My mom, I just say that particular story because I remember it so vividly, that particular piece of advice. But as far as my dad was very big, like I said, with athletics. So there would be times when I would be tired and I would say, I just don't want to do this anymore. I can't. And he would just remind me, didn't you say you wanted to go to nationals this year? Okay, well, when I was on that 1981 national championship team and we were tired, Danny Ford. So it was just those stories that I would hear that would say, okay, they were tired, they won a national championship, let me get back in this gym and do what I needed to do. So it was just that humor kind of when I would hear the stories of Danny Ford and different things that would drive me to want to move forward. So he always had the funny Clemson stories, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we don't all get to tell that tale. That's a pretty good one. Let's see, I was going to ask you, my last question for you. You've done so much, lots of cool things, and, you've talked about having goals and things like that. I'm kind of curious, if you and I sat down for lunch 5 years from today, what would you like to tell me you had done in the past 5 years? What new things are on the list?
So 5 years, I'll be 28 years old. Oh, wow. Pushing 29. So let me think.
You can't go anywhere.
So by then, I'm engaged, so I'll be married by then. Hopefully have at least one child, I would hope.
Go ahead.
So, I would hope to have, like I said, one child at least. Me and my mom opened up a gymnastics facility. So it's in Spartanburg. It's called Sparkle City Gymnastics. Definitely want to see that grow. We have about 250 kids now. By then, we hope to have 1,000 kids that we're training in gymnastics. I have a movie right now, another one being it's out in LA and they're about to start shooting. So that'll be one movie that'll be shot in 5 years. I hope to have 3 or 4 movies if I do one a year. So I hope to sit with you and talk with you about the 4 movies that I've done, my little baby at home and my husband. And just the impact that I've had, because no matter what, I want to keep speaking to youth, to organizations. I love this. And so I want to be able to say, Phil, I spoke at this organization, and Michael Jordan said he loved the part in my speech about him, so. So I have big dreams, big goals.
I love that. By the way, I want to know what you can practice for a year to grow 6 inches, because I'd still need that help, right? That would help clearly in this bit. Wonderfully done. I look forward to having you back in 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Raven Magwood.